I'm a 32-year-old man, and I'm getting married to my longtime girlfriend soon. What should be one of the happiest moments of my life has turned into a heartbreaking ordeal because of a deepening rift in my family. To give you some background, I'm my parents' biological son, and when I was 12, they adopted two boys who were biological siblings, Jack, who was 8, and Liam, who was 5. From the very beginning, it was clear that things were going to be tough. Jack came with severe behavioral issues due to some intense trauma. I'll spare the details, but it was significant. I tried my hardest to be understanding, but living with him was nothing short of exhausting. His outbursts were constant, and I often felt like I was walking on eggshells, terrified of setting him off. As we grew older, I continued to try to be there for Jack, despite everything. A few years ago, Jack fell into a devastating drug addiction. I stood by him through his darkest moments, supporting him through rehab and doing everything I could to help him get back on his feet. It was draining and heartbreaking, but I did it because I loved him and believed that, despite our challenges, we were still brothers. The situation came to a head recently at a Sunday dinner at my parents' house. My son was working on his summer homework, which involved creating a family tree. He innocently asked Jack if he wanted to be included, and Jack just flat out said no. He didn't want to be part of it because, in his exact words, "We're not real brothers." He said it so casually, like it was the most obvious thing in the world, with no regard for how much it would cut me to the core. I was utterly stunned, but what shattered me even more was that Liam, who I've always felt closer to, just sat there in silence. He didn't say a word. He didn't defend me or even acknowledge how hurtful Jack's words were. He just let it happen. I've tried so hard to be supportive of both of them, especially Jack, despite the endless challenges. So for Jack to say that, and for Liam to do nothing, felt like a gut punch. It was as if they were both telling me that I was never truly part of their family. I decided to uninvite both Jack and Liam from my wedding. My fiancé has been nothing but supportive of my decision, but my parents are furious. They've made it clear that if Jack and Liam aren't invited, they won't attend either. It feels like history is repeating itself, with my parents once again prioritizing Jack over me, no matter how much it hurts me. I'm absolutely heartbroken that my parents would choose to miss my wedding rather than support me in this. I know Jack has been through a lot, but I've done everything I can to be there for him and for Liam, despite all the heartache. And now, I feel like I'm the one being punished for finally standing up for myself and setting some boundaries. Am I the jerk for uninviting my brothers after they said they don't see me as family, even if it means my parents won't come to my wedding? Now for a few important comments. Liera, why was your kid even asking him in the first place? That could have hurt them too. As a child, it would have never occurred to me not to include my aunts and uncles in a family tree. What did you say in front of your child to plant the idea that he needed to ask them? And did you correct your kid and say that, of course, his uncles should be on his family tree? You are also to blame in how this rift started, because whether intentional or not, you also did not correct the idea that you aren't real brothers/family, and it was your child that asked the question. Usually, people feel uncomfortable correcting other people's children in awkward situations like this. It falls on the parents to talk to their child and get to the root of things. OP, because he's 5 and just wanted to show off what he was doing. I have never said anything to plant an idea that they aren't my brothers. He doesn't even know they're adopted. Not because it's something we hide, just hasn't ever been something we really discuss as a family. Add uncles/aunties to the family tree was an optional extension, and he said it in a way of, "Come and help me add you in if you want to be," not, "You don't deserve to be in the tree." You're honestly clasping at straws here. I have no issue with someone labeling me Ta, but don't just make up context to decide it. OP, I don't blame them or him for his drug addiction. Jack and Liam had truly horrible things happen to them both as children. Stuff I won't get into here, but you can understand it was the type of stuff that leaves lifelong scars on you, even with the buttload of therapy they've gone through. One time Jack spoke to me about how when he's high on drugs, it's the only time in his entire life where he doesn't constantly remember and only time he ever feels at peace. Obviously, I shouldn't be the one who is constantly picking up the pieces of him, but I can 100% understand why he got into drugs. He's still a jerk though. Oh. The family tree and Jack's comment was only the catalyst for the argument that happened. And yes, there would have been no issues with Jack being included in the family tree. Now for the 6-day update. I'm honestly still reeling from everything that's gone down since my last post. First off, thank you to everyone who took the time to comment. I've read through all your advice and it's been a lifeline. But buckle up, because things have taken a wild turn. After hearing from so many of you, I decided I needed to talk to Liam. We met up at a pub and I just laid it all out there. How hurt I was when he didn't say anything after Jack made that awful comment about not being real brothers. I was half expecting him to defend himself, but what I got was something entirely different. Liam confessed that he's been living in fear of Jack for years. He told me he kept quiet that night because he was terrified of setting Jack off, not because he agreed with him. Then he dropped a bombshell. Despite being Jack's biological brother, he's felt just as much of an outsider in our family as I have. The constant pressure from our parents to cater to Jack's every whim has worn him down too. Liam assured me that he's always seen me as his brother and that he regrets not standing up for me sooner. Hearing that was a huge relief. He's completely on my side now, and we agreed that if Jack can't respect me as a brother, he has no place at my wedding or in our lives. But just when I thought things couldn't get more intense, my parents decided to make everything worse. I sat them down and explained why I uninvited Jack, hoping they'd understand. Instead, they threw down an ultimatum. If Jack isn't invited, they're not coming to my wedding. No room for discussion, no empathy, just flat-out refusal. I was gutted. After all these years of putting Jack's needs above mine, this is how they repay me? I couldn't hold back anymore. I let out all the anger and frustration I've been bottling up for years. I told them how I've always been the one sacrificing, how they've always prioritized Jack, and that I was done being treated like I don't matter. I made it clear that if they choose not to come to my wedding, they're making their choice, and I'll make mine. With that, I walked out, leaving them to stew in their own decisions. Out of nowhere, Jack started bombarding me with the nastiest, most hurtful texts I've ever received. He accused me of turning Liam against him, of ripping the family apart, and had the audacity to call me selfish for abandoning him. He ranted about how he never felt like he belonged in the family, and how it's all my fault for pushing him away. His words hit hard, but they also opened my eyes. Jack has spent his whole life blaming everyone else for his problems, and I've been his favorite scapegoat. This time, though, I'm not letting him guilt-trip me. I didn't even respond. I just blocked his number. If he can't see what he's done wrong, then there's nothing more to say. Liam was livid when I told him about Jack's messages. He's more determined than ever to support me, and we've decided to go low contact with our parents until after the wedding. Liam's been a rock through all this, helping me with the wedding plans and making sure I'm not dealing with this mess alone. So, the wedding is still happening, but with a much smaller guest list. My parents haven't reached out since our argument, and at this point, I don't care if they show up or not. This day is about me and my fiancé, and I'm not letting anyone, not even my own family, ruin it. Thank you again for all your support and advice. I'll keep you posted if anything else happens, though I'm really hoping my next update is just about how amazing the wedding was. Fingers crossed. Now for the next update. Hey everyone, I wanted to give an update after everything that's happened over the last week. A lot has changed, and I'm grateful to say that things are moving in a much better direction. 2 days after the text argument with Jack, he reached out to me. I wasn't sure what to expect when he asked if we could meet up, and I was reluctant, but I agreed. When we sat down, the first thing he did was apologize. He told me how sorry he was for what he said to my son, and admitted that he didn't know why he said it. Jack seemed genuinely remorseful, and I could tell that he really meant it. This wasn't just another apology to smooth things over. This was different, and it felt sincere. After apologizing, Jack took a deep breath and confessed something that I probably should have seen coming. He told me that he had relapsed before the argument even happened. Hearing that hit me hard. It explained so much about his behavior in the weeks leading up to that moment. The irritability, the distance, the way he was withdrawing from everyone. I realized that I had missed all the signs. I'm not proud to admit it, but I was so caught up in my frustrations with Jack's behaviors and my wedding that I didn't stop to think that something deeper might be going on. Jack's confession wasn't just about the relapse. It was about taking responsibility in a way he's never done before. He went on to tell me that after realizing the damage he'd caused, he had made the decision to check himself into treatment. This might sound like a typical step, but for Jack, it was monumental. In the past, Jack's only gone into treatment because he was either sectioned by social services and forced into it, or because my parents threatened to kick him out if he didn't get help. But this time, he made the decision on his own. That was something he'd never done before, and it showed me that he was serious about wanting to change. He told me that he is doing this because the prospects of losing me, his brother, was too much, and he couldn't handle it. He wants to take this seriously because he wants to show me he can do it. He told me he sees me as his family, and he feels so guilty for making me feel like I wasn't his family. Jack has also agreed to start taking medication to help calm his nerves, something he would never do before. It's now been about 5-6 days since Jack checked himself in for treatment, and I've been visiting him regularly. At first, I went alone because I wasn't sure how my son would feel about seeing Jack so soon after everything that happened. But after a few visits, I felt it was important for my son to see that Jack was making an effort to make things right. So, I brought him along, and Jack took the opportunity to apologize to him directly. It was a really emotional moment for me as a parent. My son is still young and doesn't fully understand everything that's been going on. But he could see that Jack was sorry, and that seemed to make a difference to him. They even spent some time together, just talking and playing, and it felt like a big step forward for all of us. Throughout all of this, my brother Liam has been incredibly supportive. We've talked a lot about Jack, and it's clear that Liam wants to see him succeed just as much as I do. We both know how much Jack's trauma has affected him, and while it doesn't excuse his behavior, it does help us understand why he struggled so much. Having Liam by my side through all of this has made me feel a lot less alone. Reflecting on everything, I've come to realize that I need to take responsibility for my part in how things escalated. In the weeks leading up to the argument, Jack had been doing things that really got under my skin. Instead of addressing it calmly, I let my frustration build until I finally snapped. Looking back, I can see that his behaviors were likely tied to his relapse, and I should have seen that sooner. I feel guilty for not recognizing the signs and for reacting the way I did, but I'm trying to focus on what I can do to support Jack now that he's taking his recovery seriously. When I wrote my first 2 posts, I was in a place of deep frustration with Jack, and though nothing I said was incorrect or a lie, I definitely painted a picture of Jack's most negative moments without everything else. I want to remind everyone about Jack's trauma. Jack was a victim of severe abuse by his biological family, including extensive CSA, Liam also, but Jack's was a lot more intense. Jack jokes now that he was their biological father's favorite in all the wrong ways. Jack got into drugs at a pretty young age, but has been clean, or so I thought, for a while. I mentioned this before, but Jack has told me in the past that even now, almost 20 years after he was adopted by our parents, there is not a day where he doesn't have nightmares about his abuse. He says the only moments of peace he gets is when he's high. Jack's trauma runs deep, and it's something that continues to affect him every day. I'm not making excuses for his actions, but I do think it's important to remember that he's dealing with a lot of pain. Despite everything, I still believe in Jack. I believe that he has the strength to overcome his past, and with Liam and me by his side, I'm hopeful that he can get through this. I also want to take a moment to thank everyone who offered advice and support on my last post. Your words helped me see things from a different perspective and gave me the push I needed to approach this situation with more compassion. There's still a long road ahead, but but I'm optimistic that we're on the right path now. For now, things are looking up. Jack is taking his treatment seriously, and our family is slowly healing. We're taking things one day at a time, and I'm committed to supporting Jack as long as he's committed to helping himself. Thank you all again for your support. Your advice has been invaluable during this difficult time. Some of you may call me weak or naive for thinking this time will be different, but I am prepared to take that risk one more time for Jack, as he has shown me over the last week he is genuinely wanting treatment and he wants to be better. Jack's told me he wants to earn back his invite, but not to give it him yet. He said he will prove he deserves it. I really hope so. Now for a relevant comment from OP. I'm not sure if I can ever fully trust Jack again, but I'm willing to give him this chance. Yeah, some therapy would probably be useful. I haven't had it for a long time now. My parents are still being my parents. I've come to realize that every time they get involved in my relationships, they just make things worse. But at least things aren't worse than they were before, and they apologized to me for saying they wouldn't come to my wedding. I have created a throwaway for this post. My fiancé is a Redditor and actually introduced me to Reddit. But he doesn't usually come on this sub, so I'm hoping it will remain unseen by him. My fiancé, Max, doesn't see it, but his parents are extremely manipulative people. His parents adopted his two brothers when Max was about 12 years old. They were 8, Jack, and 5 when they were adopted. Max is his parents' biological son. From the point of their adoption, I get the impression that Max was parentified a lot. His brothers both had pretty severe trauma, and because of that, they lashed out often. The stories he tells me of their childhood and how his little brothers behaved are horrific. For example, smearing poo on his pillows and bedroom walls. Max was treated like another parent and would babysit his younger brothers for extended periods. His parents would then constantly berate Max about his brother's behaviors and how he isn't taking good enough care of them. The behaviors were from both brothers, but mostly from Jack. Now, Jack became an addict in his early teens. My fiancé says it's because of the trauma of early life, which I am sure there is a link, and about 5 years ago, Jack got clean. However, he is still an extremely immature, rude, and mean person who will constantly blame anyone else for his issues. Max is constantly making excuses for Jack, even when he's rude to me or our son. Jack in the past has texted me harassment from when even the slightest thing doesn't go his way. For example, he screamed at me, calling me a fat bitch because I didn't hear him ask me to pass over the ketchup at a family barbecue. I now refuse to go to family events if I know Jack will be there. About 3 weeks ago, I came to a family meal at Max's parents' house. I was told that Jack would not be there and he wasn't for the first half. However, he came late, and instantly I could see he was either high or drunk or something. I haven't seen him in a while, but it was obvious from that point he had relapsed. I tried to tell Max because I was uncomfortable and wanted to leave, but Max asked me to stay a bit longer, which I did. I know I am an idiot. It won't happen ever again. In less than an hour, Jack had caused a screaming match, and this time it was at my 5-year-old son, and it was over something incredibly stupid, like always. As soon as Jack started, I picked up my son and told Max that I am leaving and that he was a pathetic man for letting his brother speak to our son the way he did. To my surprise, this seemed to spark something in Max. He defended me and our son, and pointed out how toxic all his family were. He told them they were no longer invited to the wedding and that he never wanted to see any of them. I felt such pride in him, but not even 3 weeks later, Max is already back to his role of trying to save Jack. Jack admitted that he had a drug problem again. I could have told you that from the one meeting I had, and to which Max is acting as if it is a huge shock. I literally told him on the drive home it was obvious Jack was high. Jack went in for treatment, and Max is again acting like he needs to drop his life to protect and defend his family, who, let's be clear, don't even like him. If he doesn't act like their servant and punching bag, they don't talk to him. I am so disappointed that Max is already back to this after he told me he was going no contact with his whole family. And it is making me want to call off the entire wedding. He's been visiting Jack in treatment every day, which is against the recommendations of the place. And he said he wants to take our son to see Jack. I said if he takes our son anywhere near Jack again, it will mean the end of our relationship. Full stop. I just don't know what to do. Is this the end? Now for a relevant comment. Bleacher Blonde. Is this your fiancé? The similarities are insane. He's made like 4 posts OP's wifeless. After reading the first post, that seems like it's him. I didn't know he had written about it on Reddit, but he's always on this app, so it's not that surprising. Later, she added, I am shocked to read he's taken our son to see Jack. He promised me he would not do that. That really hurts that he broke my trust like that. Am I the idiot for refusing to pay for my brother's wedding because he invited my cheating ex? So, here's the situation. My male 28, younger brother, male 25, is getting married soon, and I was excited for him until I found out he decided to invite my ex-girlfriend, female 27, to the wedding. Now let me give you some background. We broke up over a year ago, and it was pretty rough. She cheated on me with his best friend, and it took me months to get over that betrayal. When I found out she was invited, I was furious and reached out to my brother to express my feelings. I told him that I would not attend if she was there. Instead of being understanding, he got defensive and accused me of ruining his big day. He insisted that he wanted her there because they've become friends since the breakup and that she's changed. I told him that if I'm not welcome, then I won't be attending, and therefore I won't be covering my share of the wedding expenses, which I had already agreed to pay before the invitation fiasco. Now my family is pulling me in every direction, saying I'm being petty and ruining my brother's wedding for no reason. They're calling me an asshole for not supporting my brother and for potentially putting a financial strain on his wedding plans. Some even suggested I should just suck it up and attend for the sake of family. I've now decided that I'm not paying for a single thing, and that if he wants to have a wedding with my ex as the guest of honor, it's on him to cover the costs. Am I the jerk for standing my ground and refusing to fund my brother's wedding under these circumstances? Comments Acid25. Not the idiot. But what is the deal with all these people paying for siblings' weddings? When did that become a thing? Honestly, I don't know why my brother and his family expected me to pay for the wedding. So don't. It's not the law, tradition, custom, or fashionable thing. Individual U 6586. Why is this paying for siblings' wedding even a thing? If he's old enough to get married, he's old enough to cover his own expenses. Why are people adamant about throwing a party they can't afford? If your family thinks you are ruining it, they can chip in. Update, 1 day later. Okay, so I wanted to update everyone because things have escalated and it's even crazier than I expected. After my last post, I thought maybe my family would come around to my way of thinking. Instead, they absolutely lost it. My brother called me crying, saying I'm ruining his happiness, and my parents have taken his side 100%. In a fit of rage, I ended up posting screenshots of our conversations in our family group chat. You know, the ones where he called me selfish and petty. Yeah, I regret that decision, but it felt like a let's air this dirty laundry moment. My extended family saw the texts, and now half of them think I'm justified, while the other half is calling me the family villain. To add fuel to the fire, my ex-girlfriend reached out to me directly. She said it's unfair that I'm acting like she's some monster when I should just be mature about the situation. I told her she would always be a reminder of my brother's betrayal and that I won't ever see her in a positive light. She then had the audacity to say my brother might reconsider his whole wedding if I'm not there. Now, my parents want us to have a family meeting to discuss this drama like we're some sort of reality TV show. I told them I'm not showing up if it's just going to be him whining while my ex is basking in it all. Call me dramatic, but this whole mess has made me feel like I'm in an episode of a soap opera. So now I'm considering throwing some cash into the mix for an epic weekend getaway instead of funding his wedding. His wedding is becoming about my ex and not about him. Honestly, I feel justified in saying no. I'm still standing my ground, but part of me is genuinely worried this might tear my family apart. Comments. Just to clarify, I'm not trying to ruin my brother's happiness. It feels like everyone is more concerned about my ex's feelings than mine. I'm genuinely confused about why my life choices are being judged when his choices directly impact me. I made reservations for a cruise and will be away during all the drama. Honestly, I think it's the best way to escape this mess. This is not even about your life choices. This is about basic integrity and decency. Your ex cheated on you with your brother's best friend. There is no excuse for this, nor should there be a forgiveness for your ex or your brother's best friend. A good brother would have cut off your ex and his best friend for what they did to you. The fact that he didn't is disgusting. You dumped her cheating butt, which any reasonably intelligent person would have done. Your brother decided to invite your ex to his wedding without even considering that you may not be comfortable with it or asking you if that would be okay. You don't matter here. It's his day. He made it clear. Since you don't matter, I don't see any reason for you to participate or contribute to the wedding. It's your brother's day, and he has the right to invite whoever he wants. Just like you have the right to choose whether you want to attend the wedding or not. Your family is blaming you for putting a financial strain on his wedding. WTF is this? Since when is he entitled to your money? If your brother can't afford to get married without you sponsoring it, then maybe he is not financially competent yet to start a family. This is not your problem. Your brother accused of ruining his happiness? What? This is some LV80 manipulation BS. He made a decision to invite your ex, who cheated on you. He then brushed you off when you expressed that you were not comfortable with that. And now that you decided not to go, he makes shocked Pikachu face and blames you. How old is he? 12? If your family keeps bothering you for contribution to his wedding, tell them that he is not entitled to your money nor your presence at his wedding. If your ex contacts you, tell her to go frick herself and block her. OP, have a nice trip and enjoy your vacation. Hopefully with your phone turned off. Now, my parents want us to have a family meeting to discuss this drama, like we're some sort of reality TV show. I told them I'm not showing up if it's just going to be him whining while my ex is basking in it all. Your ex was going to be on that meeting? WTF? Well, they can have this meeting while you are chilling on vacation, and your ex can chip in for your brother's wedding too. Jesus flipping Christ, what a bunch of idiots. OP, these people showed you who they are. Believe them, all of them. Do not worry about tearing your family apart. Your family seems to not care about you or your feelings, so there is no reason for you to care about them. Yes, I cannot understand why my ex is included in family-only meetings. Ifs, did your brother sleep with her too? Yes, unfortunately. Does the bride know? The fiancé doesn't know anything yet. I haven't said anything to her because I think it's up to my brother to decide how and when he wants to reveal his history to her. Maybe he wants to wait until after he marries her. Am I the idiot for kicking out my friend after catching her using my vibrator in the kitchen sink? I'm sorry for the long one, but I am absolutely dumbfounded. A little bit of backstory. I, female 23, have been married to my husband, male 23, for 4.5 years now. We own our own place. My high school friend, let's call her Amy, female 21, recently moved in with us about a month ago due to bad living situations with her family. She has a toddler who is also my godson. She said she would be here for about a month. Amy is not independent at all and is still living out her immature streak, or turned 21 streak. She doesn't buy her own groceries, i.e. laundry detergent, TP, tampons, etc., so she has been using my husband and I's stuff, which, in this economy, has kind of been affecting us financially. I have tried to calmly bring it up, but I hate confrontation and am just a plain doormat. My husband and I have been arguing a lot lately due to this. Amy is barely home, as she is usually out at bars, sleeping with other guys, out with friends, or at her mother's house. My husband and I recently noticed that small items were moved around in our room. Our bedroom door has been left open. We always leave it closed for multiple reasons, most of which don't pertain to her specifically, mainly safety. Hygiene items are missing out of our bathroom, and pretty much just the house is in disarray. We are clean people, and like to keep our house a certain way. We understand having a kid makes that hard, so we are lenient in some things. So, My husband had a camera in the house. The camera was in for about 4 days. We noticed when she was home alone, she would go into our bedroom. However, we can't see exactly what she is doing due to the angle of the camera. I have brought up to her that our bedroom door has been left open, and each time she responds, "Aita, how? I didn't go into your room," or "It was left open this morning." So I know she lies straight to my face. Now to the main point of this story. Today my husband calls me and asks if I had her go into the room for any reason and if I had asked for Amy to get something out of my nightstand. I said no. Then he tells me to go check the camera. I do, and it shows her going into the bedroom, over to my nightstand, then back out. She was in and out very quickly. Didn't look around, only cracked the door enough for her to fit through, opened the drawer. You could hear it clear as day on the camera, and it's a very unique sound since they are old, solid oak nightstands with no sliders. Then, she walked out with something under her shirt. She knew exactly where she was going and what she was doing, like she had done it before. She also clearly knew it was wrong since she was trying to hide it. I immediately got upset and assumed she stole the cash that I had in there, but knew I'd have to wait to get home after work to check. 15 minutes later, my husband calls again and says, "Go look at the food camera." And what do I see? Her rinsing my vibrator in the kitchen sink, not washing with soap, sniffing it, drying it with our hand towel, sniffing it again, hiding it under her shirt again, then going back in the room to put it away. The camera stopped recording before she came out, but we know she was in there for at least 5x longer than when she grabbed it. So we have no idea what else she was doing. I am completely disgusted, astonished, violated, just no words. And what can make it worse? Just 2 days prior, she tested positive for a vaginal bacterial infection and was given 2 different medications. I have no idea how many times she has done this, since she has been living with us for a month and the camera was only in the house for a few days. I am at a loss because I don't want her to be in the streets, but she's 100% lost my trust forever. Furthermore, she's jeopardized my health, my husband's health, our relationship, and proven to be completely mentally immature. I'm entirely sickened by the whole situation. I don't know how I can ever have a normal friendship with her again. Now for a relevant comment. I created an account in here just to post this, and I did not expect it to blow up like this. So here's a tiny update. I came home after work and tried to act as normal as I could. She asked if her sister could stay the night, and I told her I'd have to ask my husband because he is upset right now. I told her I didn't know why. He just called me at insert time. She did her thing today and was pissed off, but he wouldn't tell me why. She then proceeded to ask if we have cameras in the house, which I freaked out, then told her no, only the ones outdoors. I know, I freaked out. She invited me to go out, in which I replied no, like I always do, because I rarely ever go out. The UC doctor didn't seem too worried about me catching anything, since she only had BV and not an STD. But the full test results will be back in a few days. My state law for eviction says, if that person paid rent to you or performed household services such as cleaning or cooking in exchange for living in your home, you may be required to go through the legal eviction process. Amy moved in on July 4th and has not paid rent or done goods in exchange for service. My husband wants her out immediately, but is hesitant to be involved given the intimacy of the incident. Law on hidden cameras inside my own home is it's legal to install and use security cameras in your home in the United States, including hidden cameras, as long as you don't invade someone's privacy. This includes areas that are commonly used, like hallways, stairwells, and lunchrooms. However, you should avoid placing cameras in areas where people have a reasonable expectation of privacy, such as bedrooms, bathrooms, changing rooms, and locker rooms. You also shouldn't intentionally place a camera where someone might be changing clothes. I'm new to this app, so I'm not sure the policy on updating posts, so I might just make a new post after she's gone updating everything. Aita yet. But thank you everyone who's given insight. My husband and I are about to sit down and go through it all and come up with a plan. Now for the 2-day update. My husband and I discussed, then waited for Amy to get home and asked her if she had anything she would like to tell us. She said no. We then told her there was a camera in the house, and we saw her go into my nightstand. She got silent, so I asked what she was doing. She took a while to respond, and after some pushing, she said it was awkward. She then told me that she was curious as to what I use. I asked her what she meant, and she said toys. I asked her why she didn't just ask me, as I'm a very open person. She said she felt awkward. I then asked her why she rinsed it and sniffed it. She said, because I touched it. I told her it doesn't make any sense why she would do any of that. Why wash it after handling it and not before? Why even go in my personal area in the first place? We, of course, told her she had to move out because the trust is completely gone, and I do not feel comfortable having her in our home anymore. My husband was a champ. Every time I started to shut down, he took the conversation over. I got tested at urgent care and tested positive for the same infection she has and put on an antibiotic. After days of asking for test results and if she hadn't virus tests done, I found out she hadn't. She is physically not at our place anymore, but we are trying to arrange a time for her to come get all of her stuff. There is still so much more to the story, but that would be a whole novel, and some of the details are too personal. My godson is mostly with his father now, and Amy is back in with her mother, I believe. Now for the 7-day update. While arranging a time for her to come get her stuff, she made a comment that I interpreted as her admitting to actually using it, not just figuring out the brand. My husband and I decided that we will no longer be able to keep it because this whole thing will always be in the back of our minds. She came and got her stuff last night, and I gave her the present and said, well, I can't use it anymore. She might be fine with sharing toys, but I 100% am not. Disgusting. According to other people I know, she has been saying that I kicked her out because I thought she was trying to sleep with my husband, which is another flat-out lie, because it's pretty obvious to everyone around us we have a very trusting relationship. I told her I would go along with the story that it simply just didn't work out, but if she makes us out to be the bad people, then I would be forced to tell people the truth. So I started to the people who have asked me about it. She is blocked on most things, still deciding if I should block her on everything though. I guess that will depend on how my blood STD tests come back and if I will need to pursue legal action. Now for the 8-day update. My blood test results came back negative for everything, so the only thing she gave me was the infection. She went to my other friend and asked if she was talking shh, so she is definitely still invested and worried about what people will think about her. I'm not sure if she knows that I know the lies she has been telling, but I don't care either way and just want her and the drama out of my life. I have blocked her on everything besides text messages in case something big comes up. This will probably be the last update unless something goes very sideways.